to see. Got to wait for the green light to come on. Got to wait for the green light to come on. I don't know. Can you let me know when we're live? I think we're live.
I'm waiting for it to load on mine, but my internet's always delayed. So
yeah, well, I'm in Fiji, so where my internet's always messed up. That's actually something that we're gonna worry about tonight, actually, because with my we usually when we do this at night time, because everyone in Fiji is using their internet at the at the same time, so usually this is when the internet cuts out. So I'm just waiting to see comments, guys. Let me know if we're on. Somebody he says, good evening, everybody. Hello, Champion Patercat. How are we? King Gold, Josh, Dasmate. Hello, guys. Okay, well, welcome to the In the Sheds podcast. Hey, guys, how you going? So down BKRsport. No, we're not there. We're on In the Sheds. We're actually trying out a new thing here. We're going for a live podcast now because we obviously want to interact with you guys whilst we're recording the podcast. We want to talk to you guys as well. Obviously, we're going to do most of the discussion as per usual, but we do want to see kind of your thoughts throughout. We will be checking in, and we will obviously ask 3 questions of you guys at the end of each topic. The first topic today, guys, is going to be NRL, followed by AFL, and then we're also going to be doing Super Rugby. A-League will come next week for all you A-League fans out there. So yeah, we're going to get into it. Obviously, Entertain House, the co-host. How you doing, Champione?
Doing well. I'm looking forward to this live. It should be different, and the podcast has really grown. We're on episode 24, so these are the people that make it.
Exactly right. Well, I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, there is an AFL game on right now, by the way, guys, which is the Western Bulldogs versus Port Adelaide, or in Adelaide, and it's currently 16-8 right now. But the first topic that we're actually going to get into is the NRL this week, all right? So, also, guys, firstly, hit that thumbs up button if you haven't already, and subscribe if you're new around here. We're going to be doing this every single week on, well, we'll try and do Monday, because Monday is usually the best day. It depends on if there's a huge game on at the time, though, because basically, Hayden, my life is live stream right now. I literally just, I took the day off today, and I'm still live streaming right now. But yes, episode 24, let's get right into it. So let's go check out the NRL right now, which is the first topic here. So obviously, let's go through the scores. So 32-24 to the Rabbitohs of the Dragons. You took the Dragons, I took the Rabbitohs there, and you're looking good, but unfortunately, you fell apart in the end when they were the old Dragons. Following that, the Warriors and the Tigers. Warriors were up 26-20. Are we finally over the Tigers yet, Hayden? The Sharkies, 36-26 over the Broncos in an absolute ripper game there. Titans versus Roosters. Buddy, you want to start me? We're going to get started, son. We'll get started. Don't you worry. We're coming. Okay, don't you worry. We're going to be Henry Berinara, I hope you get Buddy Cole for Christmas. Canberra Raiders, 14-12 over the Cowboys. Penrith Panthers, 42-12 over Manly. Parramatta, 18-16. Over the Doggies. Ooh, I can't wait to talk about Mr. Aiden Tolman. And then, obviously, the Melbourne Storm and Newcastle Knights, with Melbourne Storm winning 26-16 in the end there. Hayden, what's your thoughts on that round so far, man?
I thought it was a really good round of footy. I actually think it's a big call. We've still got lots of games to go, but I think in my top 10 games at the end of the year sitting there will be that Broncos and Sharks game. I thought it was an outstanding game. It was probably my game of the round. Was there any team besides Penrith that won 13 plus? I don't think there was. No team won 13 plus.
Actually, I saw someone who had a bet on that game, actually. I saw someone who had a bet on that game who actually had every game 1-12. And that was the game that messed them up, because they had every game and someone, it was either team by 1-12, either team. And literally that was the only game that wasn't 1-12, where the Panthers obviously came and absolutely flew, son. Anyway, so so I don't know about that Broncos Sharks game, man. I liked it. Don't worry. I liked it, yeah. Don't you worry. I liked that last 10 minutes. But in the same sense, I thought that the Sharks, actually, we'll get into that game in a second. Because we'll kind of go through the list. But I thought that the Sharks were pretty average in that game. I thought they were pretty average in that game, and the Broncos, obviously, I thought they were really good, but we will get into that in 2 seconds. But the Rabbitohs and the Dragons, obviously the Rabbitohs came through in the top 32-24 there. Look, I didn't really get to watch this game, but I watched the extensive highlights of it, obviously, after I was live streaming, and I thought the Rabbitohs I can't believe they went down 16-0. I couldn't believe it. I was on live stream, I was being told, the Rabbitohs down 16-0. I'm like, okay, cool, man. I've just got another tip that I've lost to Hayden. And then next minute I hear, try. And then the Rabbitohs are flying home. What were your thoughts on that match, man?
It was crazy the start that the Dragons had. And I think I really underestimated Matt Duffy. I think Matt Duffy's a fantastic player, but I think he's in his career best form. At the same time as saying that, and as good as the Dragons start, well, I can't take no credit away from how good Cody Walker was for the Rabbitohs. Now, the big thing that I'm not sure if you know this, Alex Johnston ran for 305 metres in this match. That is massive, especially for the Dragons to be up 16-0 and for Alex Johnston
he
to
got
still
a couple of intercepts though, didn't he?
2 intercept tries. Yeah, he scored 3 tries in the match, but 2 of them were off intercepts. So I guess that added to it. But he had a fantastic game.
Do you think those intercepts were lucky, mate?
Yes.
No. Okay, guys, the reason why I asked him this question, right, is because I think he was a little bit upset, right? I think he was a little bit upset that obviously the Dragons were looking all right and they fell down in the end. And we were talking about it after the game like we usually do. And he said to me, he's like, it was lucky. And I was like, why was it lucky? And he started talking about intercepts and saying the intercepts were lucky. And I'm like, well, that's not really the case, in my opinion. That's why we put it on the Intercepts podcast Instagram, because I wanted to see what your thoughts, because yes, I know, I like to be right. But in the same sense, I'm not always right, you know what I mean? So I wanted to see your thoughts and all the fans' thoughts and all your listener thoughts. And I put it on Instagram, like, is it lucky or is it a good defensive read? And for me, it's a fantastic defensive read, because not only, and a bad, so you can't call it lucky, because not only is it a bad attacking play, but the fact of the matter is that they're also making a good defensive read out of line to know I'm actually going to forget about the winger on the side and I'm going to try and grab this ball. And if I knock it on, I knock it on, but it's still them actually reading the play. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that. It's a good defensive decision in the line, but at the same time, I feel like intercepts can be a little bit lucky, especially old Dane Gagai against the Bulldogs a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, no, okay, yeah, but still, yes, that was lucky in regards to kind of last seconds kind of thing, but in the same sense, he still decided in his mind that he was going to run out of line and take that. If he misses that, the Bulldogs score an easy try. So that's still his decision making, you know what I mean? But anyway, that's kind of, that whole point is kind of irrelevant anyway. I guess that's just kind of us talking. Isaac Richard says you guys both tipped Manly, didn't you? Hey, listen, man. We're not perfect, all right? We're not perfect. We will get to your Manly game in a damn well second. And as Sport says, NRL very crazy round. By the way, guys, like I said, we've never done this before, so we don't really kind of know kind of how to do both, but we'll do our best. Whenever you see a comment you want to read out, Hayden, just buddy.
I saw a comment before saying, nice to see Hayden wear a Bulldog short. Thanks, Azu Sports. Go the boys against the mighty Port
Adelaide. Yeah, well, they're playing right now. We will get into the AFL later. Next up, we had the Warriors and Tigers. I do want to actually talk about this game. Obviously, I don't think that this result really means jack shit in regards to anything, because for weeks, Hayden, I think for literally probably 2 months, I think the whole podcast, I've been saying, the Tigers, they're not a top 8 team. Do not rate the Tigers. And Mr. Pato Cat, who is in the chat right now, Mr. Pato Cat, the Tigers are not good. They're not a good, mate. Hayden, your thoughts on those?
Yeah, I was all over the Tigers. I think maybe not the last month, but through a lot of the podcast, I've been right on board them. But I thought they were shocking this match. I thought Benji Marshall really did try. They really looked a lot better with Josh Reynolds in the number 6. I really think that Josh Reynolds, who I think he can return potentially this week, because Latrell Mitchell returned and they were both suspended. But the Tigers, that is a game that they should be winning. Regardless of making the 8, you should be beating the Warriors.
100%. And, I found a funny comment here from Patercat who says, talking about the Tigers, all right, time to leave the stream. Yeah, pretty much, man, because, look, the Titans beat the Warriors. The Broncos lost the Warriors. I was actually going to use that as a talking point for the fact that 2 terrible teams. Well, Titans sound terrible, but anyway, my whole point's gone there. Forget me. I'm an idiot. But yeah, I don't really know how that happens. The Warriors obviously played the better. They were the better. The Tigers, I've never rated. I think that they have a pretty average team in my personal opinion. Yes, a lot of people do rate them. Yes, a lot of people do say they can make the 8, but in the same sense, I can't see this 8 changing, man. I look at it right now, except for Manly getting in. But then again, if you'd have to take out Cronulla, really, because I can't see any of Penrith, Melbourne, Parramatta, Roosters, Canberra, Newcastle, and South Sydney missing it. I guess you could put Cronulla in there, but then again, as we're going to get to in the next game, this is a good transition point, actually. What are your thoughts on Cronulla? Because I actually didn't rate them in this game, and you guys all know they're not my team, but they're my mum's team, and I really get behind the Sharkies, and I'm always supporting them and hoping they get a win, obviously, if it's not against the Titans. We actually play them next week, actually. But I'm always kind of hoping them to do well, and they came up against the Broncos, and I thought they were very, very average for for 70 minutes. And the last 10 minutes, I guess they kind of got lucky, obviously, off that dropout with the drop ball from the Broncos. But in the same sense, winners make their own luck. My mum actually said that on the day, winners make their own luck. Yes, there do have to be things that fall into play, but you need to be in the position to pick up that luck. You know what I mean? Like, you need to be there in that position. So it's a bit of a mixture of both. But what are your thoughts on the Sharks, mate? Because I just think that the Sharks, they're a good team, but they really lack the ability to defend. And if they're conceding, 26 points to the Broncos, there's a problem. There's a serious problem there.
Well, we saw it against the Panthers. They attack as well, but they're conceding a lot of points, and that's exactly what we saw in this game. But obviously they got the win. But I've been sleeping on the Sharks. I've been sleeping all over them. And
I had him 8. I remember I said a couple of weeks ago I had him in that 8th spot.
Did have him in that 8th spot, and I think the debutants did a really good job against. It wasn't a full strength Broncos side because it didn't have Fafita, but it was in a lot stronger side. And I think Cronulla played decent. I agree with you; they weren't at their absolute best, but I thought the debutants, they really stood in and did their job. That Talakai is an absolute monster, and I'll agree with you in the fact that the Sharks don't have great defense, but their attack is brilliant.
Their
and
attack's
I'm very
the best
worried
in the comp,
this week.
isn't it? Hold on 1 second. Let me go and check. You can keep talking if you want. I'm just going to go check. I'm pretty sure the
Wouldn't
Sharks
it be Roosters because of all their 58, 48 scores, I'd say?
Yeah, maybe. I just know the Sharks score a lot of points. Like, obviously, this week they scored 36. Last week they scored 28. The other week they scored 46. The week before that they scored 24 against the Panthers. That's still high, even though they lost by 56-24. They scored 40 versus the Titans. They scored 40 versus Manly. They scored 20 versus the Dogs. They scored 16 versus the Dragons. We're still going back. They scored 26 versus the Cowboys. 16 versus the Tigers, 10 versus Storm, and then the Sharks scored 18 versus the Rabbitohs. So, their early season, they kind of were a bit slow, but they've obviously really ramped it up now with a couple of... They haven't gone below 28.
Well, how unlucky did they get early in the season against Melbourne? That was a game they arguably should have won.
Well, yeah, exactly right. Yeah, they lost that game themselves. But like I just said, they haven't scored lower than 28 in 7 weeks. Like, they're 7 weeks in a row, they've scored over 28 points. Again, it doesn't matter who they play. Like, it's ridiculous. It's actually ridiculous. But I want to move on to the Broncos now as well. Actually, no. So just quickly before we jump off, Sharks, are you tipping them for the 8 now, or are you not tipping them for the 8?
I can't see the Sharks taking it over Manly. I think Manly still make the 8.
The Battle of the Beach is there. Battle of the Beach, that last spot. Obviously, I think Manly too. I've been backing them in all year. I'm very disappointed with how they're going this week, obviously. But let's get onto those. I'm going to take Manly here, but I'm also kind of thinking about the Rabbitohs as a bit of a 50-50 team as well.
That's my worry.
I think the Rabbitohs could push out. I don't think they should push out with their team, but in the same sense, they are a bit of a worry, and the Sharks are above them. The Sharks are in 6th spot right now just because of their points differential. Actually, no, it's not really because of their points differential. But anyway, let's move on to the Broncos. As you guys know, I'm a Titans fan, and on my live streams, I talk a lot of shit to Broncos fans. People don't realise that I don't actually hate the Broncos. I have actually really... I never really had an issue with the Broncos. I actually grew up as a young kid in Brisbane, but I love the reaction from Broncos fans who for 10 years have been talking shit and now they can't handle the shit. But I want to say the Broncos played fantastic. I really enjoyed watching them play against the Sharks. We all knew they kind of had the opportunity because the Sharks are so lacking in defence. In the same sense, I never thought that they would actually be up by 8 points with 10 minutes to go. But then obviously, and just before we get into the negative part of that, because they did lose that game by 10 points, even though they were up by 8 with 10 minutes to go, I do also want to say that the most important part of what I saw with the Broncos this week was that their energy and their actual enthusiasm for the team. I actually enjoyed it. I was actually nearly at one point saying, I'm kind of getting behind these lads because they actually are showing some passion for their jersey for once. And that's weird for me to say because, to me, I don't really want to go for the damn Broncos. But I just thought that I really enjoyed the enthusiasm that their team was showing. I really enjoyed watching Tony Staggs run amok. And obviously that one try where he just went through the line, like that was just dominant. And the way that all the players celebrated every single time, I just found that really interesting and I found it really good to watch. So let me know your thoughts on the Broncos because you tipped them.
100% agree. They showed passion and pride for the jersey, which we haven't seen in a long time for Brisbane. Up at home, Jake Turpin back in the side. He looked really good. I can't speak enough about Xavier Coates. I haven't really spoken about him lately, but Xavier Coates, for mine, it's a big call here. He's actually a shoo-in for Origin. If you take maybe Corey Oates out of the equation, and I guess he's injured in the moment, which makes it vulnerable, I could see Xavier Coates playing the Origin side. But Tony Staggs, who you mentioned...
You're taking him on the wing. You're saying Coates on the wing. Would you not put Valentine Holmes in the wing? I know he's injured right now, but I know
I'd
that...
put Valentine Holmes on the right wing, but who would you put on the left wing? Normally it's Corey Oates.
No, but who played wing for last year for the Queensland team? Who played the two wingers? Because obviously Valentine Holmes didn't play wing last year, did he? Oh, no,
Wasn't it Corey Oates?
Well, yeah, it was Corey Oates, but who was the other winger? Because Valentine Holmes was there last year. Dane Gagai. Oh, isn't he in the centres? Who's in the...
No, he's normally on the wing.
Yeah, true. Okay. Well,
normally Chambers.
I personally look with Xavier Coates. Look, I think everyone watched that try the other week, and I think he's really fast, obviously. But in the same sense, I don't rate him as highly as you do. I think he's an up and coming player, but I think he's got a lot to work on, and I think that he has got what it takes eventually, but I don't know yet. Throwing him into the Origin, like we look back a couple of years ago with the Gold Coast Titans when Ash Taylor was being mentioned with Cherry Evans, and when Ash was getting mentioned, I love Ash, obviously. You know, I've known him for a long time, and I love him, but that really affected him. And there was a lot of things going on as well, but I think that that kind of affected his growth quite a lot back in, I think it was 2016, maybe 2017, when it was between him and Cherry Evans. So I think that really got to him. And if we did this with Xavier Coates, and although it's a different position because obviously Ash he was a halfback at the time, he's now 5'8", but like a halfback is obviously a lot more of a position that you need to direct. And Ash, I don't feel is a director. But with Xavier Coates, obviously he just needs to catch the ball and score the try. So I guess you could trial it out, but in the same sense, surely there's more experienced wingers and centers out there than Xavier Coates, surely. Let me have a look. So TVW says Gagai will play Origin for sure. Medvedev says, I think Coates needs more experience. He's a good player, but I think he's still too young to play Origin. That's my opinion. That's what I think too. I think he's a good player. I think he's got the potential, but I don't know about Origin just yet. What would you say to that, Hayden?
I want to go back to this Broncos game as well and say, do you think, because I think you'll disagree with me here, but I really do.
You know shit.
Do you think...
Hold on, you said, do I think what? Sorry, no, go back, you cut out for a little bit. Do I think what?
If that dropout occurred and Tom Dearden caught the ball, regardless of the attack that the Sharks were throwing at the Broncos
win.
Do you think Broncos win?
Yeah, well, the Broncos get a whole fresh set of 6 and they probably will score there. They'll probably score there because they get a whole fresh set of 6 from that dropout. They're 30 metres out. He catches that. They're going to have a whole fresh set of 6 and they're probably going to score over the line. So it's like that's going to kill the game off. I 100% think that locks down the game. So I think that was unlucky there from the Broncos, and it was heartbreaking. But as soon as the Sharks scored that try with 5 minutes to go, 6 minutes to go, I was like, with 8 minutes to go, I was like, this is over. I knew the Sharks were coming back there. You know, you could just see the Broncos' heads just go from cloud 9 to cloud 1, whatever. I don't know what the opposite is, but that's my thoughts. But let's move on to the next game. So Broncos fans, a lot of positivity there. A lot of positivity there for you, and even from me, which is bloody crazy. Next game, Sydney Roosters, Titans, 18-12, mate. You know what? I'm gonna jump in here first. No, you know what? You can jump in first. I want to hear your thoughts. I want you to tell me your thoughts on this game.
I thought the Titans were good, and I'm not going to use the word great because I don't think either team was great in this match. I think I'll tell you what, the Roosters to mine, and I've been thinking he was overrated the last couple of years. The Roosters aren't as good without Boyd Cordner.
Boyd Cordner is a really integral part of their team. No, 100%.
100%. And I've never thought that. I've always thought he's so overrated, and I've always not rated him as highly. Obviously, he's Origin captain for the New South Wales Blues, and for the Roosters, but he's a massive part of their side. But obviously, the Titans, they got really hard done by Henry Perenara. And you know how much I hate Henry Perenara, so welcome to the club.
Well, what do you mean welcome to the club? I had a club about him about years ago. I created that club, mate. I created the club.
I've had it since 2018.
Well, let's merge clubs, mate. Let's merge clubs because Austin Humphrey says Titans rob. TW says Titans rob. Don't care what anyone says. But that's the thing, man. And I'll get into this. Look, I am a realistic supporter of my club, right? Okay, so I get frustrated during a live stream sometimes. But in the same sense, afterwards, I'll sit back and I'll be like, okay, we didn't play good enough. Yeah, I didn't like some of the calls, but everyone doesn't like calls. You know, they're a team. Everyone doesn't like the calls that go their way. Even if they win half the time, there's still people complaining about calls saying we had to beat the refs. So everyone does complain about it, and there'll always be a way. And that actually lets refs off. People don't realize this. That actually lets refs off. So this game against the Roosters, the refs were appalling. I don't care what anyone says. The refs were appalling. And because the fact that everyone complains every single game with every single ref, no matter how good he was, it lets them off for games like this, where the Roosters, they score off a forward pass, right? Okay, so they score that. They win by 1 try, okay? Some people go around and saying, like, oh, it didn't affect the game. I'm sorry, they won by 1 try, and that was a forward pass. Everyone knows that forward pass. And then you go back and you have a look at that first try that was taken off the Titans. Now, I get it. If you're going to call that is arm on the ground, right? Okay, that's fine. But the ref didn't call held. So what are you meant to do in that situation? He was going to get taken over the sideline. So the ref doesn't call held. They then play on, and they get the try. The ref calls try. So obviously the ref didn't call that held. And they come back, and not only did they say that, because usually once you get, if that is the case, you then have to go and replay the tackle, right? So if you move off where you were tackled, where they called held, you'd come back and you just replay the ball. Yeah, am I correct?
Yeah,
exactly right. Well, we didn't. We got a penalty against us. But the thing is, though, is that the tackle was still being made. So how can you actually take that off the Titans when the tackle was still being made? Now, I get if you want to say that it's a dull movement, but in the same sense, if you want to claim that, then there's no penalty to the root. It doesn't make any sense to me. So anyway, that's another thing that I thought was just absolutely horseshit. Another thing was the Tedesco one where he pulled back on our play. I think it was on Brimson. We got sin bin for that. Who was it?
And he didn't.
And he didn't. No, he didn't. We scored I think that because we scored the try, that's why they didn't give it. But that doesn't make any sense. Shouldn't have anything to do with scoring the try. He still did a sin binable act. Like he tried to stop it. Like, what if we didn't score the try? So what, they get a sin bin then? That doesn't make any sense to me. So that's
Brimson brought so much energy to your team.
Oh, Brimson's amazing. I tell you this for weeks. I tell you this all the time. Brimson's one of the best fullbacks on his day. Like I personally like him as a top 5 eventually fullback. Not right now, because obviously he's been injured the whole season. But people have forgotten his quality from last year. People have forgotten that he's a really quality player, and he's one of the best bloody fullbacks in the comp. But I know Pappenhausen's there. You got your Tedesco and stuff. He's not up to that level, anywhere near that level yet. But I'm just saying he's a fantastic fullback. But anyway, to kind of wrap that a little bit up, I think the Roosters, they're lacking a lot of players. They lost a lot of players. Boyd Cordner, integral to their team. Titans looking very positive. You add all these players in next year, and holy shit. Like, look at Tino Fa'asuamuli for the Storm on the weekend. David Fafita. Obviously, we haven't spoken about this on here because we didn't do a podcast last week, but... David Fafita's there now. You got Hermanese Yese. As long as there's just a hooker that comes in, they'll be all right. But we've got a good back line too. Brimo coming to the fullback, Corey Thompson out to the wing, Brian Kelly, Young Tana Mapia, Philip Samuel on the wing. Oh my God, I tell you, it's going to be good. People underrate us. I don't really care. You guys can underrate us all you like.
When's Young Tana Mapia back?
I don't know. He's been injured for a couple of weeks now.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a little bit too long. I don't know why, because I really rate him as a player. He could actually even swap out for Dale Copley. But the good thing is that we have player selection problems next year. You know what I mean? Like, we have confusion, and that's good. And that's what James said when we had him on the podcast a couple of weeks back. But let's move on to the next game, because we were about 10 minutes away from a half an hour, which we would then swap to the AFL. The Panthers.
Mate. I want to touch on this Raiders-Cowboys game.
Oh, okay. You can touch on this Raiders-Cowboys game.
I'm touching on this game because Ben Cummins, who obviously robbed the Raiders of a grand final last year, has something against him. Oh, he has something
Here we go again with the old 6 again, eh?
Go in the comments right now and let me know how bad the calls were for the Raiders in this game. They didn't play their best, and the Cowboys weren't great either. Both of these teams weren't great. It was a scrappy game of football. It was close. But Ben Cummins did everything he could, and there was 2 captain's challenges overturned by the Raiders off disgusting calls by Cummins. If he refs another Raiders game, they'll lose.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I will. Ben Cummins, come on, mate.
Oh, man. Well, I didn't actually really get to watch this one, so I'll take your opinion on it. But yeah, okay. Well, the Rays still obviously got over the line in the end. So I guess that is what it is. I can't really talk too much about that. That's why I kind of skipped it, because I was like, I think I was streaming another game at the time. Actually, no, I was streaming the Super Rugby.
Daz mate says yes, he must hate the Raiders. So he's someone who's
Duffy says the calls were bad for Cowboys. They had to challenge 4 times. What is he saying? Are you saying that the calls were bad for the Cowboys? As in, like, the Cowboys got Are you saying the calls were against the Cowboys? Or are you saying the calls are against who's the other team? Raiders. Is that what you're saying? Isaac Ritchie says Ben Cummins was so bad. 6 again. He went on the same plane as the Raiders team. Also play if they had lost few. As Sports says, Ben Cummins calls are pretty average. Well, there you go. So everyone obviously must not. Like this man, Ben Cummins. Not exactly great. Extreme Bo says terrible calls both ways. So at least we got someone there who's saying both ways, but that just proves even more that he's just not great. So let's. Is that all you have to say on that one?
Yeah, let's go to the next one.
Let's go to the next one because I know you're all eager to talk about Parramatta Bulldogs in a second. Panthers Manly. Panthers come out on top of that one, 42-12. Would you call Panthers favourites?
Yeah.
It's hard for you as a Nils fan, isn't it? Battle of the West, man.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. I think they're definitely an underrated team. And saying favourites, I couldn't see the Panthers beating a full-strength Roosters. I'll say it right now. I couldn't see them beating a full-strength.
How many players were out this earlier in the year when they played them in round one? How many players?
Boyd Cordner was out, I'm pretty sure. And that's, as we've said, an integral part of their team. But at the same time, Penrith are really showing signs. Now, Nathan Cleary, for mine, is getting way too much attention. He's a great player. Nothing or something to be taken away. There's too much credit going there. He's in some good form. Great. But there seems to make it like he's the best player in the NRL right now, which I disagree with. But I think Api Coruscant is up there for by the year. They've got some really good wingers and centres even in Stephen Crichton and Kickow. He's been quiet. I expect a bigger match from Kickow this week against the Raiders, but Penrith are good. And I backed Charlie Staines as first try scorer. There you go. Yeah. So if you check,
have you heard that story about the pub that said every try he scores they give a free beer to everyone? Have you seen that? The NRL roast. The NRL roast has been posting up about it, Roasty, and he's apparently guys, you can go check it out on NRL roast on Instagram, or it could be Roasted Rugby League. I'm not too sure, but same thing. But go and check it out. I think there's a pub in Penrith or somewhere, a local for Charlie, and they said every time Charlie scores a try, they give out a free beer to everyone in the pub at the time, and they're not exactly. It's not really that too fun for them. It's not really too fun for them. But I like the Panthers. I do. I've been backing them in all year. There's not been a single moment this year that I haven't backed them in. I thought they're a fantastic team. I really have enjoyed their attacking flair. I've been saying this since before the season started. I really enjoy the way that they play. Yes, Cleary, a little bit overrated, but in the same sense, look, as you can see, Duffy's the same for us. This Nathan Cleary. Please don't spam in the chat, guys. Just one comment's enough so that we can see everyone's comments. But yeah, I think Cleary is a great player. A little bit overrated in the sense that they're just talking about him non-stop because there's a whole team at play here. You know what I mean? There's just everything. Api Coruscant, you've got your Viliami Kikau, even though he didn't have a fantastic game. There is a whole group of players, and they're just everyone's doing their job. So, and then you obviously go to Naden. Naden's doing a good job too. You've got Charlie Staines down the wing. Like it's just, I think that there is a lot of. I think there's a lot to play at the Panthers, and I would agree that he's overrated in the sense of he's being talked about too much. But he's a fantastic player, and he's doing a great job for that team.
Do you think Penrith can do something in the finals?
I have my doubts. I don't think they have the experience in the finals. Is my question.
This is a huge call, and I could tip differently, but I'm going to make a big call now that I could see the Penrith Panthers losing only one more game this season, and then going out in straight sets in finals.
Before people are like, "Oh wow, that's crazy to say," there's actually not many games left this season. I think there's like 7 games left or something like that, something ridiculous. So because obviously it's only a 20-game season, so I wouldn't be too surprised if that was the case. If you were right there. But in the same sense, I think that they would get to. I think if I look at the top 8 right now, right, I think that I think the Roosters probably would beat them. I think that the Panthers and Storm game would be incredible. I actually think the Panthers might have the upper edge there.
Yeah, I think so too.
Parramatta, I think that's a 50-50 game. I actually don't know who I'd give the edge to that in that one. We saw that when the Parramatta played Penrith. It was a 10-0 to Penrith, and then you guys flew back in like 10 minutes or some shit. But yeah, it was very close, and they came back in that one, Parramatta. So I don't really know how to call that one. I would probably give you guys that little bit of edge, but in the same sense, we're going to talk about you guys in a second, which will probably lean me towards the Panthers. The Roosters, I think that the Roosters are probably I think the Roosters have it over them. I think they beat the Raiders. I think Panthers would beat the Raiders. I do. I think that they're a better team than the Raiders. If they played Cronulla, obviously we saw they put 56 points on them. They put 56 points through Cronulla. And Newcastle, I actually think that'll be a really interesting game between them and Newcastle. They drew before. They obviously drew earlier in the season, so I don't know how to call that one, and I think they flogged Rabbitohs. Manly, I think that it's a different game next time. I think it's a different time next time with Manly. Manly are not going to lose by that margin twice. You know what I mean? Like, I think that Manly, obviously, they weren't expecting that. You saw that with Sherry Evans. Like, he was saying, like, we did not expect that. Like, we just weren't ready for that. We didn't expect that kind of onslaught. And, I think I'm a little bit different. I've got a little bit more belief in the Panthers, but I don't think they go all the way. I don't think they go all the way this year. I want them to go all the way because I just don't want the Roosters or Storm to win because I would like to see a fresh grand final, you know what I mean? Like, I get over the same shit every year. Nothing against Storm Roosters, but it just is what it is. Duffy says, there we go. He's saying something about South suck. Okay, well, we're going to move on now. We're going to move on. Grido Games, have you done AFL tips yet? No. Not yet. We're still in the NRL, my man. Let's move on to the Eels game, and I've got a question here, and it's got a question mark at the end of it. There's a question mark. It's a question mark, and it says Eels overrated. What's your thoughts?
Overrated, no. Not playing their best footy, yes. So what I'm saying here is I think that Parramatta, look, in relation to overrated, maybe in the fact that we were sitting at the top of the table, because a lot of results for teams like the Rabbitohs, who you'd expect to be in the eight, or teams that aren't performing, and I think that's actually helped our season play out, and I feel like we could be sitting in third or fourth position like we are right now. Overrated, no. I think we've got a really good stack of forwards who are performing offload. I think it was a real tough grind against the Dogs. I'll speak about this game now because I was obviously at it. I think that I don't know how to address it because I honestly think that Parramatta were honestly going to win this game by 30 points after that first half. That first half, we led 18-0, and obviously we didn't score a point in the second half. When they scored a try, I thought, okay, it's going to be a consolation. They're going to score one more. We're going to go on a bit of a roll here. But boy, was I wrong. And errors is something that we really need to work on. Not only that, and we did win the game, but playing good away from home. That is not a good performance. That's probably my worst second half as an Eels fan in a long time.
Where was that game at?
ANZ,
yeah.
ANZ.
Well, ANZ, that's the thing with Sydney teams. Like, ANZ shouldn't really be an away game. Like, that shouldn't really be an away game. Maybe for Queensland teams, but for Sydney teams, that shouldn't really be an away game.
Yeah, no. I think the Eels went into this game thinking we are going to win this easy. This is going to come easy, just like they did against Manly, which they shouldn't have. And I think that's where we obviously didn't lose, but I feel like we beat ourselves. I didn't feel like we beat the Bulldogs. We beat ourselves by holding onto the ball, by defending. But the Bulldogs really did play really well in this second half. And there was a line break from Lachlan Lewis that was a momentum changer for mine in regards to them scoring points. But if Aiden Tolman took a tap...
Oh, he's in it. Well, I'm going to stop. I'm going to get you right there.
Okay,
I'm going to get you right there. I was sitting here, right? I was watching the game before I did the Night Storm stream. I'm sitting here and I'm just chilling out, kicking back. I went and got some Maccas, came back and sat home, just putting my feet up, watching the game. And then I get back, and obviously people are talking about having some robbery or some shit. Oh, I couldn't care less. You know, people talk about robbery and stuff. But I don't know. I didn't see it. People actually do say something about some try that should have been a try or something like that. I didn't see it because I was gone at that time. I was out getting the food. But I come back and I'm here. I'm like, the Bulldogs, they're looking on fire here. They're looking good. Like, they're looking like they're going to win this game. And then Aiden Tolman gets the penalty, and as soon as he taps it, I'm like, what are you doing, mate? What? Like, this is why rugby league players are thought of as morons. Like, you're a front row forward. You aren't the man to be making the decisions here, man. Firstly, you should be, I know it's all in the moment, spur in the moment, stuff like that, and you feel like they're on the back foot, but you are a front row forward. You aren't meant to be taking that quick tap. If you're going to take the tap, you better damn well know you're going to score. And obviously nothing happened, and then they just had no attacking flair, because we all know the Bulldogs have absolutely no attacking flair. They have absolutely no attacking flair. They haven't for years. So I was very frustrated. I can assume Bulldogs fans be very frustrated. But in regards to Parramatta, I know you're not going to like this, but I've been telling you this for weeks. Not really. I do rate Parramatta. I wouldn't say over. I don't even know if overrated is the word. Experingbro up here said something about. Hold on, there was a comment up here that said Dogs wanted it more and underperforming is the word. Underperforming is 100% right. 100% underperforming they are. But in the same sense, I've been saying this for weeks, I think Storm have it over them when it gets to the finals. I think that, look, I just don't know if they're going to have what it takes to be there when the crunch happens. Because if they're struggling to the Bulldogs, right, I know this is a one-off game, and all teams always, they're going to be like, a win is a win. But I can tell you right now, that wasn't really a win. Like, it was a win. You got the 2 points, but it really wasn't a win if you know what I'm talking about. Go on.
I agree, but how can, and I'm not having a go at you, but how can anyone sit there and say with the Eels without a key player, Ryan Madison, and then the Bulldogs without, the Roosters without Boyd Cordner? The Titans and the Bulldogs are two
Titans are a lot better team than Bulldogs.
Lower team. Well, yes, it does, but that doesn't matter. That doesn't take
I know
away
what you're saying.
from the fact that they're two teams that should be beaten easy. No offense there, and I don't mean to any Bulldogs fan. No offense there, any Titans fan. But
I agree with Bulldogs. I don't agree with Titans. But then again, that's my opinion. Go on.
Yeah, but I think that the Roosters are being talked up as the best and the benchmark, and I guess is fully fit. But at the same time, I think Parramatta had a big key player out, and I think that's what is being taken away here in a negative way. I think that people aren't comparing the better teams.
Well, there you go. Well, look, I just don't know if they're going to have what it takes to the crunch. I think they're a good team. They are third right now. I just don't know if they're going to have what it takes to crunch. It's similar to Penrith, in my opinion. Similar to Penrith. I don't know about them in the crunch time. I don't know about them in the clutch. So that's my opinion. But 4 minutes to go here until we jump into the AFL, guys. Well, actually, do we really? I don't really think we need to talk about the Storm Knights.
Thing.
I don't really okay, go on.
Well, okay, one more thing, very quickly. The Knights for mine are a contender.
No.
Okay, laugh all you want. Laugh all you
I
want.
am laughing.
Okay, the Knights find themselves out of the top 4 for the first time this year because there's bigger teams there, and I understand why. They have gone down to injury a lot, and that's a bad thing for them.
Every team has, though.
I think they look. They're a team that can contend with those 4 teams. That's the only team from outside the bottom 4 that I could see winning the premiership. And I don't see them winning the premiership. But I'm saying...
So they're not contenders then?
Well, you can't say that.
Yeah, they're only a contender if you think they can win the premiership. You just said they can't win the premiership.
AFL, let's go.
No, we're going to get 3 questions from here. So, guys, I'm going to open up the questions. Look, I'm not having a go at you, man. I just think that I can't say they're a contender. They're way too inconsistent. There's a reason why right now that they are below Cronulla. There's a reason why right now they're in 7th position. And if we want to go back on that Penrith Knights game that we brought up a couple of weeks ago, in regards to that draw, you could either give them a point and get onto Cronulla tied with Cronulla, and they'd still be below them on for and against. Or if you take away the points, then they go below the Rabbitohs on for and against. So that's the thing with the Knights. So it's very, I couldn't see them being a contender. I think the only contender outside that top 4 is the Raiders. They are 5th right now, and I still think they have what it takes to go there in the end. They kind of struggled against the Cowboys, but you think the referee was pretty average in that one. So, and they kind of maybe wiped that one away. It was a very close week for most teams, obviously. But yeah, I can't see the Knights doing anything, man. I just don't think they have. Look, Mitchell Pearce is great. You know, Callum Ponga's great, but Callum Ponga also got absolutely slaughtered by Ryan Papenhuyzen. Absolutely slaughtered. Like, he was murdered. That was a murder. But guys, let's move into the 3 questions. So we're going to jump to you guys in the chat. There is 3 questions. We're going to pick out the best. So I'll choose the first one. You'll choose the second one. Oh, you go. You tell me. Yeah, what's the question? Go.
Zach Turner says Raiders to make the top 4. I feel like they still have too much to give and haven't played to your potential. So now you have said that you consider them as a contender. I have said I can't see them without Josh Hodgson. They're proving me wrong and they're grinding out wins. I'm going to say no. I've been saying all year that I think they're going to make top 4. I'm going to say no, and I think that the top 4 may be set.
Well, that's the thing. I don't know who drops out of that 4. I'm not saying they're not going to finish in 5th. I probably think they do finish in 5th. I can't really see anybody else challenging them for 5th position. Obviously, they are tied with the Roosters, but the Roosters for and against is 166 compared to 43. So, you know, a little bit of a difference there. You look at that top 4, right? They're for and against. The Penrith are 134 for and against and on 21 points right now. Melbourne, 157 points difference, 20 points right now. Parramatta, 122 points difference, 20 points right now. And then you got the Roosters, who are 166 points difference and 16 points. So those top 3, not only do they have to get 2 wins just to tie with Melbourne and Parramatta, but they also need to go again and get 1 extra win. So they need 3 extra wins than Parramatta, Storm, and Penrith just to jump them. If they don't, they're going to have a way worse points differential record. And with the Roosters, if they finish equal with them, there's no way they can. So that's to answer your question. I think Raiders, great team, but I think that their for and against is just really going to hamper them this season. All right, let me look for a question.
Go up and have a look. There's a few good ones there. Yeah.
I'll go up here. Hayden here with another feeling again. Chargie's dad says Hayden here again with another feeling. I love that. That's really funny. 1 second. I'm sorry, guys. I'm just trying to find a good question.
You got one?
Extreme Bo says wooden spoon race wrapped up or still alive? That's a good question. I will let you answer this first.
Okay, I think that the Bulldogs and the Broncos are 100% competing for it, and I do think it's still alive. I think that the Bulldogs and the Broncos showed everyone on the weekend why, they will get the wooden spoon, one of these teams, but they're also not that bad. They're also competing really well against teams that you'd expect to win 13 plus against them. Everyone was taking the Sharks 13 plus, taking Parramatta 13 plus. I think Canterbury get it. I think it's going to be very close, but I think Canterbury get it. But I don't think it's a lock.
I'm going to throw another name into the mix here. I'm not going to throw the Warriors in. I don't believe the Titans are going to get it. If you want to call me biased, go for it. But I think we've got a good enough team going into the rest of the season. I think.
He's going with the yeehaw.
I am going to, and I'm serious about it. Like, this isn't banter. This isn't sledging. This is just me being serious. The Cowboys are not good this year. I've said it all year long. They're not great. They're not getting the wins on the board. Yeah, look, they're making games close, but the point of the matter is that they're still losing. You know, they lost to the Raiders, even though you think they had calls go in their favour. They lost to Manly. I think that was a little bit, like, obviously, I think Manly won that one a lot better than people talked about. But then again, in the same sense, still relatively close. They lost the Panthers, relatively close, but they still lost that one. Who else did they play? They got flogged by the Roosters. You know, they haven't won many games this season, man. We go back, they lost the Parramatta Eels 42-4. We go back and we look at they beat the Knights 2-20. But besides that, and they went up by 30 points in that one and conceded 20 late to make that even a little bit more even. Zach Turner says Titans on the rise. Love your work, Zachy. Love your work. You're a buddy. You're a legend. Let's go. So we keep going back, and they lost to the Warriors. You know what I mean? Like, look, I'm not saying they're necessarily going to get it, but if you're going to look at these, so there's only really 6 teams that can get it, technically. Really. Technically, there's only 6 teams that can get it. Well, you can include the Tigers, but I'm not going to include the Tigers. However, I did say they'd finish the season in 12th a couple of weeks ago, and right now, I think so. But anyway, so you've got Canterbury there, you've got the Dogs there, the Titans there, the Cowboys, the Warriors, and the Dragons. I don't think the Dragons get it. I don't think the Titans get it. And I don't think the Warriors get it. I think we've seen that they are playing and they are really giving it a red-hot crack. But I'm going to say that I think Broncos are going to get away from it just because of their passion, what I saw on the weekend, just because of the passion. I would love to say they get last. I would love it. Beautiful. I'd have it as my screensaver. You know, I'd make a billboard in bloody Brisbane. I'd give them out wooden spoons. I'd make a video about it. I promise you, I would do it. But I'm actually going to give it to the Cowboys. I'm genuinely, I don't rate them. If you, like, people can argue with me, I could be wrong, I couldn't care less. If I'm wrong, then cool, I'm wrong. But I think it's between the Cowboys and the Dogs, and the only thing that potentially saves the Cowboys from the Dogs is their for and against at 84 and minus 84 and minus 122. However, they're only 2 points above. You know what I mean? So that's my thoughts. What were you going to say?
If the Cowboys do get the wooden spoon, will Jason Taumalolo still get the Dally M? Because of this one-man team. He's currently second on the leaderboard. He's killing it. The votes are suspended, but last week he was second. He's the favourite for Dally M in regards to people's perspective. If they finish last, can you still see him finishing Dally M?
No, but he will be definitely very close. I don't know. How do you give the 3 points to a player on the losing team, is my opinion. How do you can't possibly give the 3 points to a player on the losing team, in my personal opinion. You have to find a way to give it to somebody who did the performance on the winning team. And the Cowboys haven't been winning many games this season. And he has gotten 3 points in games they've lost. But in the same sense, I just don't agree with that. So in my personal opinion, I don't think so. I don't think it should be deserved to go to a player on the opposite team of a loss. But yeah, I personally would go Cowboys at this very moment last. But also, I think the Doggies are favourites right now. So one quick question, guys, because we have been going for 45 now, and we're going to jump into the AFL. This podcast will probably go for about an hour and a half, by the way, guys. This podcast will probably go for about an hour and a half. Isaac Richards, that'd be funny. One last question, and we'll make it a quick kind of question. I saw a couple up before. The Aiden 87. Okay, we'll do this one. This should be answered a little bit later on, but we'll do it now. And real quick, McInnes or Cook for Origin?
Oh, Cook.
100%.
Easy.
I agree. So that's a pretty simple one. So that's our 3 questions, guys. Lennox Production says it's a really tough one to predict who gets the spoon because most bottom 8 teams have started to hit form and Broncos are due some really big players back. It's really tough. I agree, but in the same sense, the Tigers are actually dropping. The Dragons are kind of The Warriors, yeah. Titans are hitting form as well. You know, the only team that isn't hitting form. Actually, the Bulldogs are hitting form, I guess, but they're not getting the wins. So, I don't know. I guess the Titans-Cowboys this week will prove a lot, but our tips will not be on this podcast. We will be bringing out tips. We'll see how we go, but you will see the In the Sheds tips no matter what anyway, which is very close right now. It is actually really close going at the end of the season. But guys, that is going to do us for the NRL section. We're going to move into the AFL section now. I hope you have enjoyed the NRL section. Obviously, every single week we do this. So next up, we're going to get into the AFL, and I hope you do stick around. We've got Super Rugby to come up as well afterwards. So next up, by the way, man, halftime 23-20 to the Doggies. 23-20 at halftime. So please stop spamming.
Yeah,
Hold on.
We need that spam.
Yeah, hold on. Duffy's. I'm going to make Duffy's a moderator. I don't know why I didn't do that beforehand. Sorry, guys. Hayden would have just disappeared, but he's back now. All right, so let's get into the AFL here, guys. Duffy's, you are now a moderator, my man. We also can't, it's really difficult. Because obviously now there's AFL every single day. So when we're doing tips and stuff, we need to do 2 weeks, 2 weeks of games. So let's go and going through these games beforehand. So the Doggies obviously beat Richmond. Richmond beat the Doggies 90-49 by 41 points. So they definitely did not beat Richmond. The Port Adelaide Power flogged the D's 83-32, which I did say would damn well happen. I said 40 plus. Hawthorn and Carlton. Carlton led 31-0. To start the game, and they lost by 31 points, 89-58. So they started 31-0 and lost by 31 points. The Brisbane Lions, 91-28 demolition over the Bombers. The Kangas, 119-50 over the Crows. You've got the St Kilda Saints, 101-48 over the Swans. West Coast in a fantastic game over at Optus Stadium. Over Geelong Cats, 73-64. GWS, 61-35 over the Suns. And Freo, 61-49 over the Collingwood, who screwed me over massive multi. But here we go. Everyone. Speaking of James too, he says so too. But first up, let's go in and get our opinion on the Western Bulldogs, mate. You're obviously a Doggies fan. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, very inconsistent. I didn't expect us to win that game, even though our record's quite good against Richmond, and Richmond have been really up and down. I still think we've got a good side. In regards to finals, it's really a flip of the coin at the moment. I've probably got us finishing in around the same as last year, 6th or 7th. I still think we will make it. But I wouldn't be surprised if teams like the Suns and things maybe sneak in for us.
Suns. No. I'm going to cut you off right there. Don't you
cut me off?
No, on regards to the Suns. You can keep talking, but you can keep talking. But don't say the Suns in the gate again or I'll something now.
I really don't know who. You could say anyone's going to make this 8 at this point. It really is unpredictable. We saw Carlton.
Yeah, Carlton.
We all had him in the 8.
No. You didn't have him in the 8. I had him in the 8. You didn't have him in the 8.
You didn't have him in the 8?
Yeah, I pushed him to the 8 last week, or 2 weeks ago. I told you that I'd push him to 7 or 8 or something like that. Yeah, I said something like that. I think I put him in the 8. I think I put him in 8th because I still had pretty much everything else locked in. But I think the Dogs, and as it's proving right now, as the game is on 23-20 and they're up at halftime against Port Adelaide, beautiful day over there. Beautiful day in Adelaide. It's surprising how that's so low scoring. I think they're inconsistent is the perfect word in sport because you just get to use it so many times. They go and lose by 50 points to Richmond, and then right now they're down by 3 points to Port Adelaide, who just come off a huge win against the D's. And it's just like, firstly, Port Adelaide are very inconsistent as well. There's a lot of this whole year is a mess. We've spoken about this. We're not going to continue to speak about how much of a mess this season is, obviously, but. Wow, lots of emojis in the chat right now. But yeah, I think that I think the Dogs are good, but I don't think they're going to make the 8. I don't think they're going to make the 8. But this year is so difficult to tell. Like St Kilda are third right now. West Coast are back in the top 4. Would you have expected Port Adelaide to be first at this point of the season? GWS are back in at 7th. Geelong are 6th. You got Essendon missing out. You got Collingwood, who aren't even in the 8 right now, but we're going to get to their game in 2 seconds. And Adelaide haven't won a game yet. So I just want to repeat that. Adelaide haven't won a game yet. And if you haven't heard that, Adelaide have not won a game yet. So, look, I think that on the Doggies, I think they're a decent team. I don't really want to talk too much about Richmond because I think they're just flying under the radar sneakily. Do you have anything really you want to say about that or not?
Yeah, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. I think we're going to see Richmond in the back. You're getting close to back after the season, I guess. Just like the
we're definitely past
now.
halfway. There's only 17 games this season. There's only 17 games, so we're in round 9 now. So this is like we've gone one game past halfway. So there you go. As your sports says, Suns are good, but not as good as the Giants. Well, yeah. Well, yeah. But next, we'll move on to the Port Adelaide game. Port Adelaide obviously humiliated the D's. We've already said about this halftime game already too many times. Port Adelaide, what are your thoughts on them? I think with Port Adelaide, they are the definition of I don't know what the shit is going on this season.
Oh, they're the Warriors, except they're at the top of the table. They're the Warriors. They win, they lose, they win, they lose. They're looking good though. They're starting to look good. Smash the D's. You also lose.
I expected that though. You know that the Port Adelaide were up were 7-1 to win that game 40 plus. I told you. I bet on it. I bet on it. It was 7-1.
I had St Kilda 40 plus against the Swans at 6-1. So that was
Swans are shit house, but like the Swans are bottom 4, mate.
You really don't rate the Swans, and we both.
They're 17th.
Do you have them second last? Do you have them second last finishing?
I would have had them bloody last if it wasn't for the Crows. Yeah, I got them finishing second last. Wow. I think Freo showed that they've got enough in them. I guess maybe they could jump the D's because I don't rate the D's anywhere near as much as everyone else talks about. But yeah, man, I don't.
This is going to sound absolutely mental, but I was doing a muck around like ladder predictor thing, and I'm thinking about putting a video on the channel. So I guess this is a bit of a spoiler for that. I had Freo in 8th.
Well, you're drunk.
I had Freo in.
Can you show us your room right now? Because there's definitely bloody vodka bottles that are lying everywhere. Because Fremantle in 8th. You're out of control, my friend. You're out of control. Fremantle in 8th. So you're pushing. Who do you take out of the 8 right now? Who didn't make the 8 then?
Who did I have? I've got a quick screenshot. Yep. I know I had Port Adelaide actually finishing on top as the minor premiers. I remember that much. This would have been at the Tigers game last week, so give me 2 seconds.
Yeah, while Hayden's going checking that, I'll read some of the comments. And Chargie's dad, we're going to make sure we talk about free kick Collingwood. We will make sure. I'm going to make sure we talk about Collingwood. Yeah, go on.
All right, so this was a very quick ladder that I had for the AFL if I was doing it like a randomised predictor. Port Adelaide, Brisbane Lions, Collingwood, Richmond, Western Bulldogs. Wow. GWS, St Kilda, Geelong. What am I talking about?
You don't have Fremantle in the 8.
No,
he's definitely drunk. See, he's definitely drunk. I told you guys. He's got his vodka bottles. I told you guys. The vodka bottles are out. He's got his vodka.
I've got Geelong in 8.
Well, the fact that you've only got us in 8th, I can tell you right now that is completely wrong. We're a bloody damn well good team after what I witnessed. I know we lost, but you bloody tell you.
That bottom 4 I've got is looking prime though. Prime.
Well,
North Melbourne, Hawthorn, Sydney, Adelaide.
I love how Harry Waller has just said Collingwood shithouse. Isaac Ritchie says there must be a homemade bar in your house, Hayden, if you're tipping them to come 8th. Exactly. Yeah.
I'm not tipping them to come 8th. It was a ladder predictor.
Well, that means you, buddy, think they're going to win enough games to make the 8, which is out of control. Anyway, so that kind of that. Anyway, well, let's quickly talk about Carlton here. Carlton, they choked a 31-0 lead. You know, they were up 31-0 in the game. And I thought, okay, well, this is game over. I hope it's a 139, not a 150 game. But in the end, it didn't really matter. Hawthorn flew home and they won by 31 points, which is just very ironic that they were down 31-0 and won by 31. Do you think this game tells anything about any of these teams? Because I feel like this kind of proves our point that Carlton are there and not. There and they're not. They're there and they're also not.
Well, yes and no, but I think this game could kind of be like the Parramatta Manly in the fact that they could be brought back down to earth by a loss and then respond from it. I think that Carlton have been really good this year, and I mentioned the struggle is finding consistency, which has always been. But as you said, they start some quarters really well and then other quarters really shit. And we saw that. We saw that this weekend. I don't know if I got them in the 8. I really don't.
Yeah, look, I don't know, man. I can't see it. Like, I want to say them. I want to say that Carlton are going to make the 8, but I just can't see it. They obviously show that they can absolutely, like we said a couple of weeks ago, they get some quarters right and they get some quarters wrong. And when they get it wrong, they get it damn well wrong, my friend. They get it damn well wrong. So, 89-58 there. Brisbane Lions, Essendon. I don't think that really needs to be spoken about too much unless you have something to say about it. No? Okay, cool. That was great. We just had like a 3-second pause of you just like staring at the camera. North Melbourne, 119 points against the Crows. I guess at the beginning of the season, mate. We're not going to talk too much about this either, but like, we're not going to talk too much about this, but Kangaroos kicking 120 points. That's still quite decent. I said before the season started that I thought the Kangaroos were going to come about maybe 10th or so. I think that their actual record isn't great right now. I think their record isn't great. I think their record doesn't show how good this team can actually be. I think it's a little bit misrepresentative of how this team actually should be. However, I think it also proves that they're just not up to the standards this year. So I think they should have a couple more wins, but in the same sense, they don't. Would you have anything else to say about that?
No.
Exactly right.
Go next.
Move on to the next game. West Coast Geelong. This is the big one. This is the big one to talk about. Obviously, my boys Geelong. We did fall down in the end. I will just quickly say on my behalf, I thought that we played really good in that first half. I thought the second half we kind of faltered a little bit, but in the same sense, like I just think that game was just a testament of two teams that genuinely could face each other in the grand final. I don't know where it will be. I don't know if it'll be in Brisbane or it'll be in West Coast, but these two teams, you've also got to remember that Geelong are currently playing with no Joel Selwood and no Gary Ablett, two of the best midfielders in the entire game. Dangerfield's there locking it up. I do want to say, as a Geelong fan, Radongolia, Tosaviti, I love Fiji, Tosaviti, but brother, that was a shocking performance. Like, that was honestly one of the worst performances I've seen. He just hasn't been great so far this season. So, I don't even know the last time I've seen him kick a goal. I can't remember seeing him kick a goal. So, disappointed that Geelong didn't get the win, but in the same sense, I am happy with our performance.
Yeah, I think that both teams really turned up and they definitely felt like a grand final intensity match. Definitely better than that bloody grand final we saw last year.
Oh, anything's better than that. I'd watch Kangas versus Adelaide over that game.
There you go. I thought that Dangerfield was real good in this match. I thought Dangerfield and Josh Kennedy, he's on absolute fire. We saw the fire last week. I think he kicked 6 goals or something. Kicked 2 or 3 in this match. Really close. Any team could have gotten it in the end. Both teams were well in it. But I think West Coast came firing home and a little bit too good. Not a lot too good, but a little bit too good.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Nick Naitanui killed us. Nick Naitanui through the centre just absolutely annihilated us. And that's the point. Like, we just struggle through the centre. We always have, and we always bloody will. We cannot find somebody to actually pull us out of that centre. St Kilda Swans, that's just the St Kilda smashing a bottom 4 team right there. If you're a Swans fan, you're not in for a good season. The GWS game versus the Suns. GWS beat the Suns, but for me, man, I don't really care for that game either. Well, like, what do you? Do you care for that game? Like, I don't really care.
Not really. You expect GWS to be finding a bit of form and winning by heaps, but they only won the game by what, 27, I think.
They won by 26, yeah.
26, yeah. They should be winning that by more. So I think there's a little bit of worrying signs over there for GWS. They're definitely playing good, and they're up there. They're on the up, but
are they though?
Worrying signs.
Are they though? They beat Richmond. Yeah, they're cool. They beat Richmond, and they also only lost the Brisbane Lions by 20. But in the same sense, I just think they're a bit bland, man. I think they're a bit bland. There's nothing that I like really about this GWS side right now. You know,
AJ Ellis asked who is the most underrated team this season.
Well, can we not bloody wait for to the 3 questions?
I didn't realise. Yeah.
Can we not just wait for the 3 damn well questions? But keep that one, because that's a good question. That's a really good question. So keep that one in the bloody locker room. In the sheds. Sorry, not in the locker room. In the bloody damn well sheds. So not much to talk about there. And then Fremantle and Collingwood. Freo, obviously, 61-49 over Collingwood. Woohoo! Collingwood get the choke going, son. They get the choke going. I watched this game live, and the choke party was in full force. Hayden, what's your thoughts?
How bad was the opening bloody quarter?
Oh man! Oh yeah, there was 8 points scored in the first quarter, all to Collingwood.
8-2.
But
No.
no. Freo didn't kick a goal. Kick a point in the first quarter. Freo didn't kick a point until 4 minutes into the second quarter, and they kicked a goal. So you're telling me, right? This is what I just want to say before you get into your thoughts. Collingwood kept a team scoreless in the first quarter and lost. They kept a team scoreless through the whole quarter, and they lost. That's all I have to say. Hayden, go on.
We're not going to address it, but do you think a lot of Collingwood's issues are off-field dramas that's affecting them?
Okay, I know what you mean now. No, I think that they've got a lot of pressure from having to play over at West Coast as a home game, and they're playing against Freo and West Coast over there, who are the home teams, and that stadium is a very difficult stadium to go to and win if you're not the home team. It's obviously the atmosphere there is fantastic at that stadium. That was palpable with Freo. Freo don't have that many fans, but that atmosphere was absolutely palpable. And I was sitting at home watching it on bloody KO. So I think Collingwood have a lot of pressure with all that. There is obviously the whole virus stuff in Victoria, which a lot of Collingwood players will be worried about their families, worried about their friends, worried about the season's going to continue, worried about how next week's going to go, who they're playing in a couple of weeks, are they going to be in the finals, could they miss out in the finals now? Well, we were favourites before the season started, now we might not be. We've just lost to Freo. Are we really that good? But we also did beat Geelong last week, so we are pretty good. You know what I mean? Like, there's so much that is going into their minds right now that it just absolutely flipping around. They're just flipping around. So I think Collingwood definitely do make the 8. Don't get me wrong. They're going to make the 8, but in the same sense, I think that they're in an absolute. They're in a bit of a frenzy right now, because I just think that they're kind of trying to overplay themselves, if I would say that. I don't know how to kind of explain that, but they're trying to overplay themselves to the point where they feel like they're favourites and they should be favourites, but they're not playing like favourites at all. So that's my thoughts. Do you have anything else to agree with that?
No.
Well, there you go. So that's going to wrap us up. So let's get into our 3 questions. So what was the question again, Hayden?
Who's the most underrated team currently
and
in
who
the
was it from?
Season? That was from AJ Ellis.
AJ Ellis. So you go first.
St Kilda.
St Kilda. All right. Why St
Kilda? I think that their win against Port Adelaide, which are tips, mind you, and I think they've shown a lot of strong sides this season. I think they're. What are they currently sitting in? They're currently sitting.
They're third. They're third right now.
Third. There you go. I think St Kilda for mine are the most. I wanted to say Richmond, because I think Richmond, they're struggling to find consistency, but they're still winning games by quite big margins, as we saw last week. But I would take St Kilda as the most underrated at the moment.
This is a very difficult question. I'm looking at the ladder. If you talk about it in the NRL, I would understand how to answer this one really easily. But I'm looking at the ladder right now, and I just don't know. Like, St Kilda, obviously, they're performing better than expectations. But in the same sense, there is also, West Coast were written off 5 weeks ago. They were written off. There is Richmond, who people said that, they're obviously not going to even make the 8 at one point. There is Geelong, who people have been saying potentially not going to make the 8, or they're going to finish 8th, who are looking like a top 2 team, and Geelong, then still fell to West Coast. So Geelong kind of are underrated. I would agree with St Kilda. I would, because Brisbane are rated. Port Adelaide are overrated, in my opinion. They're good, but they're also overrated. St Kilda are probably the best underrated team, but I feel like you could honestly name St Kilda, West Coast, Richmond, and Geelong as underrated teams there. I think GWS are rated just finely. No one really believes in them. Western Bulldogs are probably a little bit kind of overrated, really. They're just not consistent enough. Essendon, I feel like, are a little bit underrated for the fact that they're out of the 8, but they have a team that will probably make the 8. Collingwood, I think we go through the rest of the teams and stuff like that. But I think that those 4 teams there, with the emphasis on St Kilda, are probably the most underrated teams. So let's go and jump on and have a look at a couple more questions. So we've got 2 questions left here, and then we'll jump into the Super Rugby. Guys, let me know in the chat. Let us know in the chat what your question is. That was a good one from AJ Ellis just then. So I'm just scrolling up. Oh, here we go. Charlie, go on.
No, you go. I was trying to read questions. but I can't-
Chargie's dad says, can Collingwood and Richmond still win the grand final, or are teams like West Coast and Brisbane too strong? You answered that one first, so I'll answer this one now. I think it depends on where the grand final is. We don't know where the grand final is. So if the grand final is over in Optus Stadium, then I personally believe that West Coast probably win it. If the grand final is in Brisbane, then I feel like Brisbane probably win it. But in the same sense, when I do say that, Brisbane are playing at home last year twice and lost both games. I was there for the GWS loss. Oh, no, sorry, I was there for the Richmond loss, and then the next week they came back and played the Gabba, and they lost the GWS as well. So the point remains is that everyone says that the Gabba is such a big fortress, but hold on a second. Last year they had 2 home games to try and get into the prelim, and they lost both of them and got knocked out in straight sets when they had just as good of a season. So I would still say, look, I actually think if it's at the Gabba, Geelong could be the winners. I'm not going to lie to you. Joel Selwood comes back. I think Geelong could be the winners. And I honestly, I don't know if Gary might come back. I don't think so. I think he'll stay with his family in Victoria. If Gary came back, I think so. But if it's in Brisbane, I feel like Geelong could. But obviously, even over in West Coast, we proved that we have what it takes to take it to in full force. So West Coast in Optus, and I'm actually going to go with a shock of Geelong at Brisbane. So Hayden, what's your thoughts?
So we're doing grand final prediction?
You're doing who you think will win at each stadium, because obviously we don't know which stadium. Or you can say if they would win at both stadiums if you like. I don't really care. But it's we're doing who you believe right now is going to win the grand final, or if it's West Coast and Brisbane have a too big of a thing to catch up.
I think Brisbane are starting to show that they can win games away from. Well, they won a game in.
They won
Western
one.
Australia.
I don't think they've played at Western Australia yet.
Where was the one that they won?
No, that was down in Sydney. That was down in Sydney.
In Sydney.
Yeah.
I see Brisbane winning it. It's so hard to think about because as you said, we don't know what stadium. That's the real hard part for me. Whether it be in Western Australia or Brisbane or West Coast are right up there.
Mm.
They're right up there, but there's Brisbane.
Only if it's in Optus. There's no way you could say West Coast will win at Gabba because they were shocking when they were away from home all season.
Yeah. I can't make a big call, but at this stage I'm backing the Lions to win the title.
Even in West Coast, would you say the Lions, say if they come up against a Geelong or a West Coast or a Collingwood, do you think that Brisbane Lions beat them at West Coast?
No. I could see Geelong winning it in Geelong and West Coast grand final.
Yeah, take that, greasy gamer. I only asked him that question because he's a classic Geelong fan, so I wanted somebody else to agree that Geelong have a chance. Take that one, greasy gamer. I can see you in the chat, buddy. I love it. All right, so we've got one more question, guys. One more question. Let's go. So, Mev says, do you prefer Kennedy or Darling? I'll take Kennedy. Let's go with as is. Well, look, that's already been answered, guys. In regards to can Port win the flag or can the Saints get into the grand final? I think we've already kind of answered that with the fact that we didn't even mention them in the previous one. We didn't even mention them. So, okay, one more question. Okay, well, we do have to kind of jump into the Super Rugby because we've been going for about an hour and 10 now. Because we'll go for about 10 more minutes, 15 minutes. I told you it'll go for about an hour and a half because obviously we include the chat now as well.
Yeah.
We'll just go with the can the Saints win the grand final or get to the grand final? Get to the grand final. That's a good question. Can they get to the grand final? You go first.
Their chance? I don't think so. I think that Port Adelaide aren't exactly the benchmark of the competition, and that's why we saw them beat Port.
Mm.
If they turn up, yeah, I'm going to say no.
No, I'm saying no. I'm saying no. I can't see them getting there. I think there's no way they'd have the experience if they got to the finals anyway. There's no way they'd have the experience. But guys, that's going to do us for the AFL section. We're going to jump into the Super Rugby now, which will probably go for the next 10-15 minutes. This is going to cover obviously Super Rugby Aotearoa and also the Super Rugby Australian competition. So I hope you guys stick around and we will be here for the next 10 or 15 minutes and then maybe we'll answer one more question if you guys did. I did call it. AJ Ellis, I'm telling you right now, St Kilda are not making the grand final, my dude. But anyway, so Rugby Union, we'll go with Australia first. So the Western Force. Well, gone.
How far behind you am I in these Rugby Union tips?
I think you're 2 behind, which is
2 behind.
well.
I
You
got
can't.
both
Yeah,
the
you
weekend.
got both. Oh,
Yeah.
gee whiz, you got Well, I told you that I wanted to go the Chiefs, so that I kind of wanted to bring it back. But the Reds game, I was very confident in, and I only lost that one, and that was a big underdog. They were paying $3.20 to beat the Brumbies, and they were up. They were up. They were up 20-19 with after the siren, like 2 minutes. It was 82nd minute, and the Brumbies just got a penalty, and obviously they went and won the game. So I'm happy with that one. They obviously snapped shit, but there you go. Guys, keep it in the chat. Keep it PG, please. So first up, we'll go with the Super Rugby AU. The Melbourne Rebels, 25-20 over the Western Force. Wow, crazy one there. And also the Brumbies, the ACT Brumbies, beating the Reds 22-20. We'll talk about this one first. So the Western Force and Melbourne Rebels game, I'm pretty impressed. What's your thoughts?
Western Force, they're looking good. They're looking like a little bit of a danger. It's their first win.
No, they didn't win. No, they didn't win. No, they lost 25-20. They lost in extra time. Yep.
Really?
Yeah, Western Force lost 25-20 in extra time. Isi Naisarani from Fiji scored the try winner. They got to extra time. They kicked the penalty goal in the 63rd minute, and there was nothing scored after the 63rd minute. And then the Melbourne Rebels obviously won in extra time in the 82nd minute through Isi Naisarani. So obviously you didn't watch that game.
How much did they lead by? I was looking at it regularly.
They're up 3-0, then it was 10-0. They were up 10-0, then it was 10-7, 10-10. Then the Rebels led 13-10, and then it went back to 17-13, and then it went to 20-13. 20-17, and then
West 20 to 17.
Well, they led 13-0 at the start. Is the point? They led 13-0 at the start. Is how much they led by. They've actually led by about 14 points in every single game. Every single game they've led by about 14 points, and then they've given it up in the end.
Really good starts, but just can't maintain it.
Well, like I was saying to you before, man, with the Western Force, I think that they're just not... They've got what it takes to be, and I think this is really good to say we should bring the Western Force back and have that little that tournament with New Zealand and the Pacific, and have and utilise Japan as well, because Japan do want to come into the competition, because obviously they do have the Sunwolves that South Africa basically pushed out, even though South Africa basically brought them in. Strange one there, but yeah, I think that it's a really good showing for the Force. Even though they are losing, they are showing that they have a good team. I don't know. I think if we do go into that New Zealand competition, I think New Zealand only won about 3 teams. I'm pretty sure they only offered 2, but Australia will get at least 3 to 4. There's no way they're going to get rid of Waratahs, Reds, and Brumbies. It'll be between Rebels and Waratahs for that 4th, I guess. Maybe, but in the same sense, I think that's a really positive showing by the Force. If we do have this competition continuously, because obviously we have no idea how this is going to go with this whole pandemic stuff. Victorians, stay at home, please. I would say the Western Force are really doing a good showing, and the Melbourne Rebels a little bit overrated. But in the same sense, the Western Force have done this literally to every single team, except for the Brumbies. The Force lost 24-0 to the Brumbies. But besides that, they made it close with the Reds, and they made it very close with the Waratahs. So they're not too bad. Other game, Brumbies-Reds, fantastic game this. And the Brumbies came out on top 22-20. I actually think the Reds deserved it. I thought the Reds were the better team, but the Brumbies, obviously, their experience got them over in the end. Did you watch this game?
I didn't watch this game. I'll be honest, I didn't watch this game. Did you stream this game?
No, I didn't stream this game. I don't do Super Rugby Australia because I just don't really rate it too highly. But I do know. I watched the extensive highlights. Yeah,
I'll tell you what. The Reds are quite a good young team. Obviously, they didn't get the W, but I actually think they're overachieving this year.
The Reds.
The Reds.
The Reds are underachieving, mate. The Reds are underachieving. The Reds. I had Reds to come second. By the way, Dingo, he said, CT Dingo says, do you support the Tars players? I don't know. I support I'm a Chiefs fan, but in Australian competition, I would support the Reds because of Queensland, but I get behind the Chiefs because of their roots in Fiji. But in regards to the Reds, I had them to come second. I've actually, you know what? Besides the fact, actually, you know what? I've tipped this perfectly right now. In regards to my pre-season predictions, not on the podcast, I tipped Brumbies to come first, Reds to come second, Rebels to come third, Waratahs to come fourth, and the Sunwolves, which was the Japanese team, to come fifth. And right now, it's that exact order, with the Western Force, obviously, instead of the Sunwolves. So I've done pretty well there. And the Reds are a young, up-and-coming team. I think they can win next year. I just don't think this year. I think they're still too young to win this year, which is a little bit of a... please don't spam, guys, or you will get timed out. But it's I think that'll do us for the Super Rugby Australia. Let's go have a look at the ladder quickly. So, yeah, Rugby's up at top right now by 7 points. They've won 4. They're not getting chased down, but it's just going to be interesting to see who comes second, third, and fourth there. But let's move into the big dogs. This is the big dog competition right now. Like, this is scary. Super Rugby Aotearoa. This is what I'm looking forward to talking about because this is really interesting right now. The Crusaders have played 6, won 5, 24 points, and 61 points differential. The Blues have played 7, won 5, 22 points, and 27 points differential. The Hurricanes, 6 played, 4 won, 16 points, and minus 7 points differential. And the Highlanders, 6 played, 2 won. No, we're not even going to talk about the Highlanders and Chiefs. They're too low. But the games on the weekend, obviously the Chiefs lost to the Crusaders 32-19, and the Blues, they beat the Highlanders 32-21. What's your thoughts on that Chiefs Crusaders? Because I think the Crusaders, they won, but I didn't think they were too impressive against the Chiefs. However, I did go with a random to the Chiefs just because I thought they couldn't honestly lose another game in a row.
Oh, they're losing every game. It's just ridiculous, isn't it? But I would agree with you that in the fact that the Crusaders definitely weren't playing their best. I watched a little bit of the game, I'll be honest. I watched a lot last week. Last week's games were great, but I think that will the Chiefs win a game? That's the question.
Who do they play against? Do they play the Highlanders anytime soon? They play the Hurricanes next week. They're not winning that game. They're not. No, they've only got one more game left. The Hurricanes. They've actually got to play one more game. That's against the Hurricanes, who are still trying to fight to win this competition. So I would highly, highly doubt that. But the Hurricanes, as we're going to talk about in 2 seconds, they need to rely in 2 weeks' time. The final game of the round at Eden Park. The final game of the season. Sorry, the final game of the season is between the Blues and the Crusaders at Eden Park in Auckland. And that is the final game of the season. I definitely will be live streaming that. The Hurricanes play the Highlanders on the day before that. So I don't think there's actually necessarily too much here to talk about in regards to these 2 games specifically. These two games were kind of decided really easily. We all knew who was going to really win those games. So Crusaders play the Highlanders this week, and the Chiefs play the Hurricanes. The Hurricanes are going to win that, and the Crusaders are going to win that. I actually don't. I actually think that I'm pretty sure that if the Crusaders win that, it's all over. I actually think if the Crusaders win that, it's all over. Actually, looking at the points, I'm not too sure. But either way, that Blues Crusaders game at the end is going to be absolutely incredible. Hurricanes will beat the Highlanders. I think the Hurricanes. Yeah, I think I think the Crusaders because. Yeah, I think they needed a few bonus points. The bonus points are really what's going to help those Sayers over the line here. The bonus points are going to help the Sayers over the line because the Blues have played 1 extra game. This is their bye week. So that's that. Anyway, guys, I think that's going to do us for Super Rugby Aotearoa. This was obviously a very quick Super Rugby discussion, but in the same sense, there's really not too much to talk about in regards to this right now, besides the fact that there's in 2 weeks' time, there's a huge game between the Blues and Crusaders. I will live stream it, and that's going to be absolutely hectic. Like, that could genuinely be the decider for who wins the season. It could be. I'm not too sure if they beat the Highlanders, it could be all over, but I think that...
The Blues bring on Dan Carter for a cameo.
No, they can't. They won't bring him on. I don't know why he hasn't gotten a shot, but I think, when they lost the Hurricanes, they lost their season. They lost their season when they lost the Hurricanes. That was the loss. That was the loss they couldn't take. And look, the Crusaders were unlucky that they lost the Hurricanes, even though I tipped both those games right. But yeah, I think that was just, the Blues lost their season when they lost to the Canes by 2 points. But guys, that's going to do us for that. So let's answer 3 questions here. Let's answer 3 questions from the chat. It can be about Australia or New Zealand, guys. Doesn't really matter. Mevita says, who's better at the moment, Blues or Crusaders? All right, who do you think?
I want to say the Crusaders, but I think the Blues put in a better performance on the weekend. If we're going on current round, Blues.
Just in
we're
general.
Going on the whole, in general, I would say the Crusaders' ability to attack.
So 2 weeks out, would you take Crusaders or Blues? So that's how we can answer this. 2 weeks out, would you take Crusaders or Blues?
I'd probably take the Crusaders in a very close one.
In Auckland, I'll take Blues. However, I will say that the Crusaders are probably the more clinical team overall. But I would take I'll take the Blues in Auckland. In Auckland, I take the Blues. But I think to ask this question so specifically, I would say the Crusaders are the better team, and they just find a way to win. Like they were pretty average. They were pretty average against the Chiefs, and yet they still got the win there. The Chiefs were actually leading them for a little bit in that game too. But let's go into another one. So I think the consensus there was the Crusaders. But if you put on current form, is the Blues. AJ Ellis says, can the Reds win the comp? Isaac Ritchie, just to quickly answer your question, who would win out of Crusaders or Reds? Crusaders would absolutely smack them up beyond oblivion. AJ Ellis says, can the Reds win the comp? I'll go first here because you answered the first one last time. No, they can't win the comp now. They can next year. Next year, yes. This year, no. They're too far behind. 4 games played. Actually, there's a grand final in Super Rugby Australia. There's a grand final in Super Rugby Australia. So I am wrong there. Yes, they could. Yes, they could. If they made the grand final, yes, they could. And you know what? I'll back them in. I will back this team in. If they make the grand final, I'm backing them in to win. Brumbies should win this. They're going to win the minor premiership, whatever they're going to call it.
Yeah, they've locked up that.
They've locked that up.
First spot.
But grand final, I'm going to back the Reds in, mate.
Ooh, I'll take you for a bit of fun. Do you think it'll be a Brumbies-Reds grand final?
Yeah. Well, like I said, man, I thought they were the better team against the Brumbies on the weekend, and obviously they lost after the siren, after 2 minutes of just holding them out, and they gave away a penalty. And actually, the Reds kicked it away. Remember when I told you about a couple of weeks ago with the Rebels kicking it away and making it tied that game with the Reds when I tipped the Rebels? Yeah. Well, the Reds did the same thing, and they gave up a loss this time instead of a draw. So there is finals, top 3, Blaze. What do you mean top 3? How do the top 3 make finals? So what, second versus third, and then whoever wins that goes to first? Oh, there you go. All right, well, all right, so one last question, guys. One last questions. Yes, the game is going to be played in Auckland, Medvedev. Because I don't think there is too many. Zach Turner says, not related to current Super Rugby news, but do you guys think it would be possible? This is a good question, actually. Zach, it's a good question. I've seen a little bit in front. He says, not related to current Super Rugby news, but do you guys think it would be possible to see a Fijian team enter the Super Rugby in the next 5-10 years? The Drua have been very successful in the NRC. Zach, I'm going to ask this question because I think I know a little bit more about this specifically than you two, Hayden, just because obviously I follow the Drua very, very frequently. I've done a lot of Drua vlogs. I love the Fijian Drua. I do a lot of Super Rugby stuff with them, and I know them really well. To answer your question, there is talk of a New Zealand, Australia, Pacific, and Japan merge, which they want to kind of create. So I would say yes, 100%. The Drua obviously are a fantastic team in that competition. We won. I say we. If the Drua made it into the Super Rugby... Oh, I can hear myself. What's going on here?
Oh, why can you hear yourself?
I can't hear myself now. It's all good. I could for a little bit, though. If the Drua made it into Super Rugby, I would call myself a Drua fan over the Chiefs and the Reds. Easy. But I would say it'd be very difficult financially to sustain. But I think that in regards to a team in the competition, it'd be wonders for the Pacific. Obviously, Tonga want to bring in a team as well, and Samoa want to bring in a team, but that's just not financially viable. I think Fiji are the best possible option in the region. You'd have obviously you'd have the 5 teams from New Zealand. You'd have probably 3 teams from Australia, which would more than likely be your Reds, Brumbies, and Waratahs, followed by 2 teams from potentially the Pacific, or 1 team from the Pacific, all played out of Fiji, and then obviously the team in Japan as well, because Japan is definitely on the rise in rugby. So I love that you've asked that question, because I really do rate the Fiji Drua. However, I think that would be more of an Islander-based team from Fiji rather than a Fijian Drua, if you know what I mean. Do you have anything to say on that, Hayden?
I'll be honest, I don't know much about the Drua. I'll try and do my research so that in a couple of weeks we can talk about it again, potentially. But it'll be nice to see a Fijian team in there, wouldn't it?
Well, there is a team in the NRL New South Wales Cup now.
There you go.
Yeah, they're called the Fiji Silvertails. It's the Pedro Sivanasiva run team. He owns them, I believe. So
I've heard about that.
They were meant to be in this year, but obviously there's no New South Wales Cup this year, so it gets pushed back to next year. But the point is that Fiji, Fiji drew a 1 2 years back. They lost last year, but in the same sense, they are a fantastic team. As was this Drew a bit overrated? Absolutely not. That's a ridiculous statement, Mr. Azu Sports. The Fiji Drew are a great team. They do drop the ball a lot, but that's Fiji rugby, man. You throw the ball. If there's a player there, then shit, yeah. But if there's not a player there, well, then we're going to have to defend and just get the ball back, and then we're going to do the exact same mistake in 10 minutes' time, but we might score from it. So But guys, that will do us, actually. That will do us for this podcast. Obviously, we've been going for about an hour and 23 minutes now. So this will get uploaded to Spotify and iTunes and the like. So you guys can listen to it if you would like to. If you haven't obviously been here. Zach Turner says Fiji and Drew is a gun rugby team. I love it. Yeah, they really are, mate. They really are. I know a lot of the boys, and they really are focused on growing this team. But, guys, that will do us. I hope you have enjoyed. Definitely hit that thumbs up button. 57 likes. We've actually had quite a few people here. I wasn't expecting too many people, considering it's our first. We've had, it's been pretty successful. So, Hayden, I hope you've had a good time too, my man.
I have. I hope you guys have enjoyed the new format of the podcast. I've really enjoyed it, and good to talk some sport. And we're getting close to the end of Super Rugby, so it's kind of exciting to see who gets that title.
Yeah, the end of Super Rugby New Zealand. Not Australia just yet. And Rugby League and NRL and AFL are starting to hit their straps, man. AFL's only got about six. AFL's only got about 6 games to go. You've got until the finals. You've got the NRL, which is about 8 games to go until finals. Actually, no, they do have 8 games because we're in round 12 now, right? Round 12.
We're in round 13 this weekend.
Oh, round 13. Okay, so we've got 7 games to go there. Yeah, man. And then we've got the A-League finishing up as well. But then again, the A-League's going to come back pretty quickly. Cricket's coming up very soon.
Yes.
You know, there's heaps of things going on. Yeah, and the cricket season in regards to 2020 and 5 days and, you know, everything, all the likes. So, guys, definitely hit that thumbs up button. Subscribe if you're new around here. We do really appreciate you. We will talk about A-League next week, Potato Cat. Don't you worry. Everyone's saying bye. All right, guys. We're jumping off. I appreciate you guys as always, and we will see you. We will see you next Monday. Surely next Monday. We'll let you know on the actually follow the In the Sheds Instagram. Follow the In the Sheds Instagram page on Instagram so that we update you guys on when we're going to be on. Also, so you get all the latest sporting news across all the different sports. Also, don't forget I'm going to be live streaming. I live stream every single day on BKRsport. Obviously, go subscribe to Entertain House as well, so you can see. We'll see if we have the tips and stuff. But that's going to do us. I'll jump off for now. Appreciate you guys as always, and we'll see you next time. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. Ciao.